I'm going to request everyone to please take seats. I know students at the back, we are just making some more place for you. I'm going to request all of you to settle down, please. We'll start in just a minute. Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to the Hyderabad launch of a very special book, The Making of Hero. This is a story, as the book cover says, it's a story of four brothers, two wheels, and a revolution that changed in India. And as you know, those of you who followed reviews of this book, many call this a book that is not just the story of the hero group or the family, but in fact the story of modern India, you know, from the partition time till now. In some sense, the resilience and the growth that Indians sort of so very well are now known for. We will start the formal session in just a minute, but before that, I'm going to request my colleagues to start a short film about the book. Can we have the movie, please?
From the bylanes of Kamalia and the rugged landscapes of Quetta, they escaped to India with little more than the shirts on their backs. In the partition-ravaged cities of Amritsar, Agra and Delhi, four of the six Munjal brothers, Dayanand, Satyanand, Brij Mohanlal and Om Prakash, built their business part by part. Armed with nothing but self-belief, the brothers began with trading and then manufacturing bicycle parts, which soon evolved into the production of bicycles. For post-independence India, the hero bicycle gave wings to the aspirations of the common man. By 1986, 30 years after its inception, Hero Cycles became the largest bicycle maker in the world. In the next 15 years, the motorcycle venture, Hero Honda, repeated the feat. And both pole positions are held firmly even today. Hero's story is about humble beginnings, the refugee entrepreneurial spirit, hard work, and zeal. It looks at how four brothers with little formal education created a world-class enterprise. This is the incredible tale of a principle-driven organization that created exceptional value for a society that desperately needed transportation. How did four brothers with distinct personalities work like a cohesive unit and build a manufacturing behemoth? How did they synchronize their strengths? How did they resolve their differences, if any? The story goes deep inside the family spirit, the parivar, that brought together employees, customers, channel partners, suppliers and local communities to create success, welfare and well-being for millions. This is the making of Hero. Four brothers, two wheels, and a revolution that shaped India.
Thank you. After that very slick movie, we now have the author of the book here with us, Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal, who is the chairman of Hero Enterprise and a member of the executive board of the Indian School of Business. Joining him in this conversation is Ms. Shobna Kamineni, who is the executive vice chairperson of the Apollo Hospital Group, and Dean Madan Pilutla. And to weave all of this conversation in a style that he's known for is Govindraj Etiraj, the founder of Boom Live and India Sped. I now invite Mr. Munjal to come on stage, and Ms. Shobna Kamineni, please. Dean Pilutla and Govind. Over to you, Govind. Thank you.
It is indeed a good and a new evening for me in many ways. This is the second time I think I'm really facing real people in 2 years' time in a context like this. So do forgive any lapses because this is a transition from screen to non-screen. I think this is an interesting, the book is more than 2 years old now, and I've had the opportunity to read it. If many of you have not, then I obviously recommend that you do. But we'll try and weave this with our three panelists here in a way that I think, that I hope is of some use to you and can provide answers to questions that you either have in your mind, that you want to pose, and you will pose later on. So I thought we will try and contextualize it in three ways. First is the very philosophical underpinnings of a business. What makes a business what it is? What drives it? What is the moral compass? What's the North Star when things go bad? How do you take the decisions you do in a way that it benefits all your stakeholders, customers, shareholders, employees, and keeps everyone happy, motivated, and productive? That's something which, as Mr. Munjal has pointed out, could be the endearing or enduring values, right, that last forever. The second part could be, and again, this is common to both Shobna and as well as Mr. Munjal, is the generational shift that's happened or continues to happen. We are talking about now second to third generation or first to third generation shifts, which pose their own unique challenges, and as they are, I think, in the Hero Group itself, and perhaps they would in Apollo. The third, actually there are four parts. So the third part is really what's happening around us. We are coming out of 2 years of COVID-19, and this has obviously been a difficult period. This battle has been fought by many people. While Hero has kept us moving on 2 wheels, there is someone here who's kept us standing on our 2 feet, who you should meet at the end of this perhaps. The third part, and not to forget, let's say, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia and everything that's happened because of that, including turmoil in the markets and so on. The fourth part, or the final part perhaps, is really what's happening right through this period, maybe this decade or the last one, the disruptions. The very fundamental disruptions that can really remove you from your business and your seat almost overnight, because you have a competitor. In two-wheelers, it could be an Ola, who comes in with such phenomenal amounts of capital and is willing to sacrifice any business principle that you thought was dear to you the way you held it for 50 years. Or it could be someone who comes in with a new technology, and obviously I'm talking about two-wheelers here. In medicine, it could be someone who is really a virtual operation and doing teleconsults and takes away 60% of the market for, let's say, a doctor sitting in a hospital and meeting people. Another 20% could be taken away by someone from the artificial intelligence space, who says that I'm going to bring in diagnostics and consults at a scale which perhaps has never been seen before. So these are all, this is the fourth aspect or the fourth pillar of disruption, which is playing perhaps everywhere as we see. So that's something that everyone has to contend with as well. So let me start by talking about the first part first. Which is the philosophical underpinning. And I'm going to, just before we came in, I did suggest to my panelists that, I urge them to be more introspective, more personal, and really what drives them. And let me start with you, Mr. Munjal. So when we talk about philosophical underpinnings, it finally boils down to only 2 or 3 things, and perhaps 2 or 3 situations that you think of. Okay, when that happened, I did this. Or if this happens, I'm going to do that or not do something. So walk us through that.
So first, thank you, Govind, for that wonderful introduction to the session. So if I look at the way our business and companies have operated and how the family has worked, the family values actually became the business values, because please remember, at the start, this was a business started by 2 or 3 people, like any startup. Startups have become very much in the news, very glamorous right now, but startups is a fact of life of almost any of us who are an enterprise. And so the few well-practiced traits of that philosophy have been, one is look at people as the most valuable asset that we have. The only asset that we have which continues to appreciate over time through experience, learning, and mistakes. Everything else that we set up depreciates. Especially in the world of technology, things are depreciating at a rapid pace. So we were tempted to ensure that people feel this is part of what they do for themselves through a whole variety of things that we do and things that we don't do. Ensuring that everyone's personal concerns are taken care of. If something is happening in their home, in their family, somebody from the senior management will actually be asking them, if not physically actually visiting them. And there's not once, this is like 100,000 times. The second is to ensure that you actually care for the environment, 2 kinds of environments. One is the physical environment of people around you, communities around you. And second is what has now become fashionable to talk of sustainability. And if you read the book, you will actually see that even 40 or 50 years ago, practices of sustainability were actually started in these companies, ensuring that you put in effluent treatment plants, that you put in lots and lots of greens. So we put up, for example, a spinning mill at one time in Malerkotla. We planted 30,000 trees in that place. just to make sure the place stays clean all the time. So these were like normal things. And I'm not saying we were making any extra effort, because that's the way we learned to be. As far as the communities around us are concerned, we've always felt there is a need for us to continue to acknowledge how lucky and fortunate we've been. So wherever we set up any operation, factory, business, office, we would always set up either a school, a college, a hospital, a clean drinking water program, a program for training the girl child, vocational skills for married women, or now more recently in the arts and culture, which in India, unfortunately, is one of those which has been depreciated rather than appreciated. We've not focused enough on our cultural heritage.
So, and you're doing that with your Serendipity.
We're doing that
Arts
through a
Foundation
whole
as well.
variety of initiatives. Serendipity, of course, is a more visible one.
So I'm going to come to you in a second, but talk to us a little bit about your the North Star when it comes to doing business. I mean, doing business in India is not easy and has never been easy.
Yeah.
There must be instances which you can share with our friends
Sure.
here, which sort of, instances which maybe re-imprint your own views on how to approach something now, I mean, then and forever.
So there are 2 or 3 aspects to doing business which I think make any company distinctive. In our case, what we have attempted to do, and I can relate real examples of many of them actually. One is to ensure that any time, by the way, an annual plan is being discussed in a company, since you're talking of an annual plan as you walked in, never ever would we allow a discussion to say, I'm not going to grow this year. The only question being asked is, how much will you grow? Okay, that's one. That became a given, that whenever the team, any of the companies, any of the leadership team comes with a plan, if it comes with no growth, they have to go back. There's no questions asked. And they already know it, so they would come with a great deal of hesitation. The second was to constantly encourage people to experiment. Because there are 2 things we realized and accepted a long time ago. None of us has a monopoly on brilliant ideas, on the best ideas, on innovation. It can come from any place, anyone. So we partnered extensively with many companies. The Honda partnership, of course, became well known, very public. It was a large company, very consumer interfacing. But we've done it over 100 times, by the way, partnerships. Even down to, in one of our factories, when we used to make mopeds, we partnered with a Swiss company for a single machine. It was a joint venture on a machine. The other thing which I think is probably more telling is encouraging people in the companies to constantly try and do better through innovation and experimentation, knowing fully well when you experiment so much, not everything is going to work. Many times it will just blow up in your face if you fail. All we did was, when we had the town halls, we used to recognize people who had done something special. In the same town hall, we would call the people who tried and failed up and give them the exact same recognition. Because the recognition was not for the outcome. It was for the people's approach towards what they need to do to improve. Because you don't know the outcome when you start. And this, I think, made a big difference to people's ability to go out and try new things without fear, without feeling that they'll get knocked down. And I think that also then they feel that I'm doing this for myself. Because if I can do something better, the company will improve, and this is my company, this is my work.
Right. Okay. Shobna, how do you want to talk about this period? I mean, Dr. Reddy didn't come from Pakistan, but he came back from the United States to set up a world-class hospital in India. And he succeeded in not just one hospital. I think Chennai was your first one, or Hyderabad? Chennai was your first one, and then, I mean, the rest is history, as they say. So tell us about what were his and your philosophical underpinnings, which one is, of course, unique to medicine, I'm sure, and running a healthcare venture, but also in general.
I think like Hero, the first thing is that I'm only his sidekick. So, so for me, it's great admiration, not just for what uncle created, but what I know the brothers personally, and I think each one of them is really a telling, spirit of what they all built together. But having said that, and that's why I see so much similarity. And I think that just like him, Dad's North Star has always been about the patient with that. And I think that being a doctor, he had that, that special sense of purpose that at any time, every one of his decisions, I don't know what to say about it, because a lot of times I was there frustrated, but it was never about money. So he said, I will build this biggest hospital in India. I might not earn more than $1 lakh a year, but I will build a 20 crore hospital. And he went out and found the money. He went out and changed the landscape of how hospitals could be funded, and he created an entire enterprise just with that belief that that whatever anyone was doing anywhere in the world, we should be able to do it in India, because like Sunil said, the talent is here. And I think that's what he did. And he proved over and over again. Now we can call him a visionary, but when you're sitting and working with him, it's kind of, scary, because he built this hospital, 30 acres in a place that no one would come to. They said you're sunk. It took a long time to break even, but now, we're in the middle of one of the most prime real estate. He built Delhi, which was the most expensive hospital in India, per bed and all that. We broke even in a year. Finally, most recently, he said, India must have a proton. For 2 years, my sisters tried to block it, saying, let's not, please, please, please. He just moved heaven and earth and his board, which would try and temper it and say, India needs it. Why should this be the country that doesn't have a proton, and the government will not invest? It cost us 1,400 crores. But I must tell you that the number of people that it's made a difference in their lives, and that's what our North Star was. How many people could you make a difference and give those families hope? How could you take it? So it was an easy mission for us. The tough thing is how to balance commercial with that kind of passion. It was only done by non-profits, people with lots of money who would this thing. But here we were as a family that came back, that really our lives depended, our livelihoods depended on this, but we had to do the right thing. So I think that initially our growth was slower. So that's the time that I think today people don't have the patience or the luxury to be able to grow a business from scratch, to be able to put so many of the right ingredients in. And I think that's something that we had. And so today, we never take any of that for granted. We'll just build on it.
Okay, so let me come. Yeah.
I want to go back to
yes.
this. This
yeah.
is an important point that Shobhana did. But you go ahead. You asked,
no,
and
no,
I'm going to.
After you.
I'll weave in what she's.
No.
So I think that's a point that I missed. So in all that we did, in all that we do, so we always have this conversation internally that whatever you do, it will always have a direct or an indirect impact on your eventual consumer and customer. So please think of that. Every activity has two portions to it. One is it adds value, second is it adds cost. You must weigh which one is more. There are things which will add more cost and actually not have enough value, but it looks glamorous, it's the done thing. Just don't do it. Just don't do it only because it's a done thing. If the consumer actually is not going to truly benefit from it, it doesn't make sense. And I think that's one of the reasons the companies have been able to grow in the manner they have. Because we actually had, as you know, multiple companies which became the largest in the world. Obviously, they must be doing something right. And I think about it sometimes. I don't think we were the smartest companies. We were also not the biggest resourced companies when these started. But there was something which was working when you put a combination of this again value system together to insist on constant growth, insist on constant improvement, insist on a good product or a service all the time, and constantly improve. there is something that tends to,
Right.
tends to come together.
So, you talked about the luxury of time, I mean, all these businesses have come up at a certain time. You've had the opportunity to build slowly and grow. I was looking at the Hero numbers. You reached, you took 29 years to sell 50 million two-wheelers, and the next 50 million came in 7 years.
Yep.
So, speed has obviously accelerated dramatically with everything else that, and I'm
Goes
sure that...
back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
Every annual plan has got to be bigger and better
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah. And similarly with Apollo, I think you said that, things were slow in the beginning.
10 years to build 3 hospitals, and in 10 years we built 50.
Right.
So,
And acquired as well.
yeah, so few of them were required, but it's the same thing with pharmacies, with everything.
Right. So, Dean, let me bring you in here. So, how do you look at this? I mean, this need for speed, which modern capital, places a premium on. Entrepreneurs are also responding to that, particularly the current generation of entrepreneurs. And things go fast. Is that the only way to do it? Is there any value for, building slowly and steadily today? Who rewards it, if so?
So there is value to building slowly and steadily. So let's look at that. But the opportunities are great now, right? So the opportunities are great. People can grab different kind of environments that are opening up. Different kind of technologies are allowing you to move into businesses that you would not have thought of, and so on. But let me just come back to the book in some sense, right? So I know it's 2 years old, but it's worth reading. Okay, so I would strongly encourage you to go get the book, to read the book. So
He's not getting a commission on this.
no, you're not. No, I did get a free book though, so I can tell you that I did get one. So the thing that I want to say about both the stories that came about, and I want to. There's one particular story in the book that struck me, and it's a very small part of the book. But what these guiding principles, what it allows you to do, is that it allows you to make decisions really quickly, right? So because that this is what is guiding me, and this any judgment that I make on the basis of these as values. The outcome, as Sunil said, could be a problem, but I don't need to worry about it because the process by which I've arrived at it is going to be all right. And this book, which is a book about so you see a lot about values here. You see a lot about the guiding principles of the four brothers, which has infused the next generation of the family also. So the incident that Sunil talks about is where so they needed an inspector to come into the factory and to inspect the goods. In order for the inspector to give a certificate, which if they didn't get it that day, then there was going to be a significant kind of a cost outlay. There was a significant loss. And they didn't do it because that's not the Hero way. They didn't do it. But what struck me there was that was the least that my father and my brothers deserved. So the way that I conducted myself is what Sunil says that's a line, which I thought was a very deliberate line, right? So anything that they're doing there is based on this idea that we know what we stand for, we know what guides us, and every decision that we're going to be making, which is a tough decision, has to be informed by that. So just to circle back to this, right? So what this allows, the strong set of values it allows you to do, is it allows you to grow quite rapidly, but at the same time maintain the core that you're all about. And that's what I found throughout the book.
Right.
That's the thing that I kept.
So on core and before I come to generational shift, I think on core and then thus core competency. So how have you both largely remained in the areas that you started out with?
So actually we've not. So again, as a philosophy, we publicly only talk about things, two kinds of things. One is those which have a compliance requirement. We will of course announce those. Second, if it's a consumer-facing business which will benefit from making public announcement, we will announce those. Other than that, we don't announce, but we are in a whole variety of businesses. We are in businesses as distinct as insurance distribution to real estate manufacturing to call centers to yarn spinning to engineering.
But most of that came in the last 15 years? 15 to 20 years?
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
So for the major part of your history, you've really focused around components, auto ancillaries, components, cycles,
Yeah.
two-wheelers.
So this was a natural evolution, starting from bicycle components, going on to full bicycles, then building components in a more organized fashion, and then mopeds and components for automotives, and then motorcycles, and then scooters. But along the way, we did begin to do some stuff in services, in financial services, and a few of the others
Right.
did start, but they were never publicly announced.
Right, but okay, let me put it this way. So did you have the temptation, or how have you managed the temptation of going completely different? So let me tell you that, for example, let's say the Birla Group.
Yeah, there were too many groups who were doing too many things.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember interviewing, and thus revealing my age, Aditya Birla many years ago, and asking this question, and he said, and his point was that if we don't do it, who will? If we don't get into telecom, who will? If we don't get into power, who will? You know?
So actually what you're talking about is a slightly different compulsion. Okay? If you remember, should I use this? Yes. If you remember, in the old days, all economic and business activity was licensed in India. You would get a license which would tell you what to make, where to make it, and even how much to make. It was that restrictive. So the expertise that many groups and many companies and many businesses developed in India was, one, how do I get a license? Because getting a license is almost like a license to make money automatically. Second is, how do I restrict anyone around me from getting a similar license so that I can remain either a monopoly or a near monopoly. And it's true, that became an expertise of many large groups in India. And we were careful, again, I didn't start this, started the elder generation, is to ensure that you only ask for a license that you need, and every license we got was converted into an actual business. In fact, at the start, the first license of Hero Cycles is an interesting story. There were 127 or 28 companies which were given licenses to make bicycles in India on one day. Because the then Prime Minister, Mr. Nehru, felt that the large enterprise should only be in public sector, private sector should make small companies, businesses. So all these 128 licenses were for the small scale to make bicycles. And my father went and gave it back. By the way, which people said, you must be off your head at this time. Who gives a license back? Please remember, this is in the 1950s. And he's saying, I want a license, but not one with the small scale restriction. So I think we were just fortunate that we got a license back. They could just well have refused. Came back with that restriction removed. So we were very deliberate in what we were doing all the time, being very careful not to get tempted to do things only because we can do them.
Right, and that in a way is core competency.
Yep.
What can I say? We don't know anything else but healthcare. So we don't learn lessons from us. We have, my dad never, people used to ask him, those wealth managers would come and say, you have to diversify your portfolio, you have to have wealth. He said, no, I only invest in Apollo. So, and I think that's a philosophy that the four of us, and I think all owner entrepreneurs, spend a disproportionate time really focusing on the business, and especially when there are opportunities. So I don't even understand the concept when Sunil talks about there has to be growth. For me, Sunil, if my guys don't grow 20%, then they don't come to the table. So I think that, so there's so much going on out there. There's so many, so yes, we started insurance, but health insurance. We started IT, but health IT. And all the stuff that we're doing is around that. I don't think the next gen is doing it, even though my dad believes that, that there's place out there for 10 grandchildren in healthcare. We said, please, there's too much going on and we're not that big a company. So you need to diversify, not just from risk, but also to keep the family relationship. So we are building different skills. And I've tried some. I've done real estate, I've done shipping, all that, oil and gas. But I think that our first focus and love is about this. And I think that's where none of us went to business school. So you all have a great advantage. So I think our learning was a little slower, but we became experts again in what we did. And I think that the exposure that we had to the best private equity, to VCs, to international schools that Harvard, Wharton, all have done business cases on Apollo. I think that exposure helped us become better and continue to grow the organization. So we kind of stayed very, very focused. And I think healthcare is a field that has many opportunities.
Okay, so let's talk about disruption. Right? So there is disruption happening around this at the same time, and I'm talking about decadal disruption, not overnight. But a lot of that could manifest itself in overnight shifts. You have a generational shift also happening. How do you manage the tensions that arise? I mean, it could be because, let's say, one section of the family wants to do something different. Another, it could be because, let's say, you yourself feel that we should stay wedded to something, or you're just unhappy with the pace of growth. So let's start.
First, carefully. Okay. So we've actually not started this now. We did this a while ago. We said we are in a uniquely privileged position. You can allow members of the family to do what they want to do. So I was given one of the responsibilities was to try and make sure that the next generation gets the kind of education that they want and able to get, able to do things in their professions which is useful, and also join the family business. My first attempt every time was to first push them away. To saying, you first need to figure out what is it you like? What is it you want to do? What are you passionate about? Because we have the opportunity to allow you to do that. So I have a niece who became a chocolatier. I have another one who became a fashion designer. One of my nephews runs a university. So we've said, you don't have to come into the family business. The family businesses now are in a place that they can be taken care of through only governance. Management can go into complete professionals. And these are professionally run companies now, as you know. So, but if you do want to come in, you have to demonstrate your work ethic, your capability, and your commitment by going and working somewhere else. So we actually encourage them to go out and work in other companies. So I had a nephew of mine come in once and said, "Oh, Chacha, can you call so-and-so is a friend of yours, he'll give me a job." I said, "I can, but I won't." When I'm saying get a job is, you get the job yourself. And please don't write your last name, because it's not a very common name, and he will know that you're from this family. And he did that, actually. He got the job. So I felt that was an essential first step for us to say that this is one set of things that we will do, regardless of whether they are aligned to our current business or not. And the second was to look at what is it that our companies and business need by way of innovation, changes taking place in technology or in the environment. So those are the additional things, which now, of course, has become very popular through startups. We actually started doing this a while ago. And we have continued now to encourage more and more and more companies to innovate, no longer inside our companies only, but whether through angel networks or VC funding or PE funding, etc. Because today I think it has the right kind of tailwind and acceptance socially as well. The only thing I think we need to do more of is not just accept, but celebrate failure. We don't do enough of that in India yet.
Right, but so let's take the example of electric mobility. So is arguably the biggest disruption in the auto space right now, and started a while ago, will continue for a while. The parent company has only now announced a two-wheeler product which will launch in July. Was announced a couple of days ago.
So you have another last night, actually.
Last night in Dubai. Yes. You have another family member. Yeah, it's called Vida. You can tell us what Vida means. But you also have a family member who's a young family member who started Hero Electric and took you to court, saying that he or that family retains the right of that brand Hero. Anyway, that's a different part of the thing. But this is disruption. So to me, it struck me as you're dealing with a family issue, which perhaps is more resolvable given your history, but you're also dealing with a disruption and an industry issue.
So I think this is an important pivot today in the world, in India, and certainly in the industry. That the automotives have to shift to cleaner fuel is a given. It's no longer a debate whether you will do it or not. The question is only of timing. When will each company do it? This is also a time, like in many times past, that the industry got woken up only because somebody else started doing something. You know, one day, a company which makes computers said, oh, by the way, I'm going to put 4 wheels on this and two seats, and this will become a car. Okay. And the car company certainly woke up because the technology of electric vehicle is 100 years old. It's not new, by the way. None of this is new. So it's not a real disruption in that sense. The technology has been improved, of course, it's been refined and will get more efficient. But the people saw, as the old last tech disruption, the same thing is happening now, that the non-industry players brought in a completely new perspective. So what do we tell our guys when we are selling bicycles or motorcycle? Who's your competition? It's also Nike, by the way. It's also Ray-Ban. Because share of pocket is also important. It's not just desire for a product or a service, but what can somebody afford to pay? So you have to kind of open your mind when you look at your industry and your business. So therefore, this disruption now will also define which are the key players in the next phase. There are non-industry players who've entered. Since you mentioned Ola is one, there's a whole bunch of them. Ather is, since you mentioned Ather is another. A whole variety of them across the planet. And this will also need an entire new ecosystem to be built. So it's not just the product. So the disruption can only happen if the entire universe around it is also works. So the ecosystem like we built for startups, sorry, we need to build for the clean energy vehicles as well. And it will go beyond vehicles. That's why I think mobility is the word being used more and more across the globe. It will not just be private vehicles. It will not just be single passenger vehicles. It will become more across the board. And which technology wins out is not clear yet, by the way. Okay, that's still open. But that's where the interesting part comes. So since you mentioned Hero MotoCorp, we'd actually put up designed from scratch electric two-wheeler at the auto fair in Delhi, I'm going to say 6 or 7 years ago. 8 years ago, actually. But a product was not launched because the feeling was that until the market gets ready, or you can nudge the market to get ready, you have to also be careful. You have to be. So at the one end, our strategy is very conservative, by the way. Our action plan is always super aggressive. The strategy is always conservative, except that high growth. Everything else we will put in all kinds of ifs and buts into the system beforehand, which is what we've been doing in this. So the timing is right and right now.
Okay. Shobna, can I? Okay, there's another question I want to ask, but let me come to you first. No, I think I really want you to address this challenge of disruption and dealing with this at a time when there's also a generational shift happening.
So one is about the generational shift, and I think that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So we don't have any musicians and that people in our family. But the lovely diversity has come from from our children's choices of spouses. So my daughter married a movie star, another one married a formula racer, another, then we have an interior decorator, we have a wellness guru. So this kind of diversity actually helps a family. So, and I think we will have to go through the pangs of solving. Fortunately, our constitution took 2 years to build. I love the way that Sunil's family actually went through, it's not an easy thing of moving from generation to generation. And I've spoken to Sunil about it. We've done it with, when he spoke about don't make your internal conflict external, this is one thing this family has done fantastically. and they've always separated the business from the personal. So if you go to any one of their family functions, everyone is there. And I think that's very special. This is something that businesses should learn, that, you know, we take these things too deep. But I think that the family is still so important. And you asked me about disruption. I think that in this time, you know,
that is the core of, oops. And that is the core of continuity, by the way,
of continuity.
while you do the disruptions.
So, and every time, everyone, you know, what's the most used word during this pandemic? Everyone talks about resilience, right? So I think resilience comes not from having a big fat bank balance, because there are companies that can run through it. It's from the ability to be agile, what you said, that you have those values that can make decision making faster, that transitioning. And this is it, because we realized that Apollo, you talked about disruption that can come when they're giving doctors consultation free, and you know, everything can go digital. But the other way around, we realized we were sitting on such an amazing asset that had the ability not only to decipher so many patient protocols, but so the technology we had to layer on, become agile, become digital, and show it to people, because we had the brand of trust. Just like if Hero, because they're in electric, I do think that the chances of success for them is because everyone wants to be a hero. So why would I not take this motorcycle? So I'll stop there.
So you know, you're building Apollo Pharmacies, Apollo Diagnostics, and Apollo Consults, or I don't know what the exact name is, but essentially teleconsulting, and that's a huge growing business, which is obviously rocketed during the pandemic. You're also dealing with the legacy of what Dr. Reddy built, and continues to build. How do you reconcile that? Is that a point of tension?
Today, if you speak to Dr. Reddy, he'll talk about Apollo 247. So he's changed too, and he has conversations with this thing, and he's 89, but he loves talking to people in their 20s and 30s, always learning from them. So I think what I'm most afraid of is a case study I read about BlackBerry, about becoming a walking dead company with that. When you know it's coming and you don't do anything about it. If we had stayed complacent and just kept growing our pharmacies, we do 400, more than one a day, no problem. There could come a stage when everyone just wants to order online, and I'm not there. So I think that was one epiphany that said that I have to transform. And but look at Amazon. Amazon is now putting physical stores. So everyone is actually converging to the state that we've become, which is omni. So I think that that you will find that the ecosystem needs each other to build up. You just have to be either partner or just, you know, get in there and solve the problem in the most current and best way possible.
So
I was sorry, I didn't answer this part that you asked, the disruption due to the generational change.
yeah, I was going to ask you in any case.
Yeah. So what we've said is, as long as the next generation can learn our values from our actions, because if you tell people something and you do something else, you know, it's both confusing, and they learn more from what you do rather than from what you say. If they learn to do things with humility, with integrity, do it for the right reasons, with the right amount of aggression, and all the rest of the stuff I said, we are absolutely fine with whether they're doing this or something else, by the way. So that disruption, therefore, is not necessarily a disruptive disruption, not in a negative sense at least.
Okay. I'm going to come to questions in a moment. Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
So very quickly, I thought first of all, the point is a great one, right? So when you have a generational shift and you have disruption, I actually think that's an advantage, right? So I look at it and I think it's an advantage. If you look at, I mean, just about any research that says a lot of the innovation does not come from the incumbents, right? So it comes from the outside. So 15, 20 years ago, if you had asked who are the people who are going to thrive when it comes to electrical vehicles and so on, the names that you would have given are very different from the names that you're talking about now, for example, right? So I don't have any research to back me up on this, but what you put down there, I don't know whether you intended to put it down as like, these are twin challenges. I don't think so. There's one challenge, but then the opportunity that you have is there's a next generation that's going to be thinking differently, that might be able to come in there and might be able to sort out. Of course, it helps, incredibly helpful that you have someone who's very open-minded and say, no, I don't want business to be done exactly the way I did it 30 years ago. It helps a lot. But the next generation has that ability to give something that is
Right.
better.
Okay, questions in 30 seconds. So before that, Mr. Munjal, so suppose you were a young Brij Mohanlal Munjal, okay? Since you've researched the book and him as an author, what would you have done differently in the context of electric mobility? And would you have responded earlier?
Probably. Yeah, probably yes. Because he was a pioneer in that sense. He was also a bit of an adventurer. Because like I said, returning a license without knowing whether you'll get it back. When we went for the partnership with Honda, by the way, we had gone looking for a scooter partnership. They offered us motorcycles. He called my uncle from Japan, from Tokyo, saying, Om Prakash, this is what they're saying. My uncle got very worried. He's saying, but this won't do. He said, don't worry, isko bhi chala lenge. So that spirit of get up and go each time to be experimental was quite significantly impactful on how the companies and the businesses evolve.
And that, I think that description of that occasion in the book is quite fascinating because they're sitting in a board meeting, they're in Japan, and Honda tells them at that point, it just springs it on them that, by the way, we're not giving you a scooter partnership, we're giving you a motorcycle, and scooters we're going to give it to Firodias in Pune. I guess which makes it a double shock. So anyway, questions? Yes, please. So very short questions, please, and I want to collect as many as possible and then hand it over to them.
About generation shift. My company was started in 1870, 151 years. But we have stopped all our extraction plants and all our business in 1990 because of the government's policy and the officers' attitude. And you see in the world, not even 3 to 4 family businesses are there. Even in India, not to 3-4 family businesses are there. So what do you suggest? Even we were educated from the beginning. All the people are beginning. So what do you suggest? Because all our people are in US and working.
Okay, we'll get more questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
Was there someone in the... Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. My name is Rajshekhar from Yale University. My question is very simple. Will the bicycle extinct? My question is very simple. Will the bicycle extinct, or is it going to be invisible in the urban area, or is it going to be the poor man's aeroplane?
Poor man's aeroplane. Okay. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
So with respect to existential threats that the world is facing, especially with respect
Sorry,
to...
can you either
louder.
get it closer or keep it away? It's not clear.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to put up a question regarding the existential threat that the world is facing generally in terms of environment, energy, healthcare, and how do businesses respond to that in terms of, I think culturally, yeah, you made a point, and value system, everything would carry it through. But going forward in 20 years, how do you see it
Got it.
shaping up?
Okay, got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I am from Usman University College of Engineering, professor there, and very good to have you with us in a discussion about the making of Hero. And I have a very technical question, sir. Like, we have autonomous vehicles coming into market. There's a bright future ahead, which will help the humans for having a safe drive. In terms of two-wheelers, there is a technological shift that we can take, that is self-balancing vehicles. Self-balancing vehicles.
Yes, of course.
I would like to know from you, sir, is there any research work going on in your company or in that area? Because our students are making small projects in our college, and unfortunately, we are not able to get funds.
Got it.
In India, what we have is in academia.
No, got it. Just
Yeah.
please keep the questions, if you don't
Yeah,
mind. Keep
yeah.
it short. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just come to you. Yes, ma'am.
Respond, please.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. I'm an entrepreneur. Basically, as you were saying, there is a generation gap, and my son wants to get into business, but I'm discouraging him to come into the business because of the policies we have, the instability in the policies. But you rightly said, work for some time, get and understand your passions and all. So what is your suggestion as such for young generations to get into the family businesses?
Okay, let's, I think, respond. Yeah, go ahead. I think at least 3 of them for you, so
Okay. First, I think that information is incorrect that there are no longer families in business. The majority of the employment, the majority of tax and revenue collection, and the majority of economic activity worldwide is still in family-owned businesses, even today.
more so in Asia, I think.
Including in North America. Okay? Latin America, Europe has been very common, very well known. Asia is very well known, but it's also the case in other parts of the world. So it's not at all uncommon. What has happened is families like yours, which have run a number of generations, see what happens is it's well known, well researched by many institutions that a majority of the family-owned businesses will destroy themselves by the 3rd generation. And that number is 94%, by the way. It's only 6% which will remain. But those 6% have learned the magic formula of then going on generation after generation after generation. The one big distinctive thing, Shobna alluded to this, was understanding the distinction between ownership and management. In a large number of cases, it's very diffused, especially in small businesses. People are not able to create this distinction, and that can become a serious hurdle as companies and businesses grow. So if you understand that, there is a whole host of other things, of course, but that's, I think, is the one big key. The understanding that this is my asset, I own this, my value and wealth lies in this business, so I should do what is best for the business. If it means hiring an expert who's better and different from me or somebody in my family, so be it, because that's my interest. So I think that is a given, that these are not going to go away. They're not gone and they're not going away. Family-owned businesses will continue. There was another question on...
I think, how does the future look? I think...
On bicycles.
Yeah, okay, bicycles and then
So
future.
bicycle in... I don't know if you're aware, which is the country which has the highest per capita bicycle consumption and usage? Would you like to take a guess?
Denmark. Denmark.
Netherlands just looks crowded because it's a small place and all kinds of bicycle light up. Copenhagen as a city is the highest usage of bicycles of any city in the world. People go to work, and by the way, please remember it snows a lot in the winters. They still go to work on bicycles. And these are not poor people. These are people who can afford to have 2 cars or 5 cars. They still go on a bicycle. So the bicycle will not only be a poor man's vehicle, the bicycle will be a very wealthy person's vehicle as well. The bicycle is not going away because it's seen as safe, it's seen as healthy, it's seen as eco-friendly, it's good for your fitness. There are many things going for it. We have to ensure, and country after country, city after city in the world is creating separate and special bicycle lanes and bicycle crossovers at crossings. One of the biggest projects done, if you remember at the millennium, many countries did special projects. In UK, most projects failed. The London Eye, they couldn't get it to stand up at the time of the millennium. It was done later on. The dome which was built, the company went bankrupt, somebody else had to buy it and build it. The little footbridge that they built over the Thames was rocking. The only project which actually worked was never publicized. Was bicycle tracks and bicycle lanes from the north of the country to the south of the country were built. And that took the cycling as a culture up dramatically, and that's being done country after country. So they're not going away anywhere in a hurry.
And cities in India as well, at least Mumbai.
India is now waking up to this fact that it makes sense, yeah. And any city which can, should.
So let me pick up that question that gentleman had there. And Shobna, let me ask you this one. So I think there are, this is, a question posed to CEOs all the time, right? So how do you divide your time between thinking about, let's say, Russia's invasion of Ukraine versus what is likely to happen in a decade's time, which could fundamentally alter your business or affect your life? And how do you, balance your, let's say, your critical thinking or your intellectual ability between these? And I think I'll put the question to all of you. I think it will be useful to.
in some way we are naturally predisposed to service being in healthcare. But I think the fact that we have such a distributed shareholding has made sure that we look externally also. And as you know, CSR was really the big thing that everybody looked at, and I think it kept a lot of India. I think it's one of the government's most successful, introductions to say that companies have to spend so much on CSR. It's helped the country enormously. 60,000 plus crores, maybe a lakh crore, goes towards companies doing things which they actually talk about, and I'm sure many do much more, like Sunil does, and never talks about it. But and now the big thing, if that used to be our triple bottom line, as Yogi Deveshwar used to say, now it's all about ESG. So any company, whether you're small or big, if you want to get external funding, if you want to be part of this new world, you have to be focused on ESG. And I think that's a very, very good thing that that businesses today are creating more responsibility towards. So is it the only solution? I don't think so. But I do think that it's an external help. A lot will come from the youth. A lot comes from the youth because your children will question you. You know, they're really asking questions now. Why are you polluting? What are you doing? I'm giving up fish because of seaspiracy and, stuff like that. So they're out there, documentaries. And I think nothing is, as long as it's not fake news, it's a responsibility of any one of you who are educated.
By the way, which he fixes for you.
Good. So anyone who has some education, I really feel going, has to keep spreading this message, because this world is not going to last forever with that, and it would be such a shame.
And that's what you should be thinking about.
So war accelerates it, and I think that's one thing that nobody, everybody kind of dodged the thing, because when you fool yourself saying that, oh, it'll never happen, but you can see that it's going to happen, and it takes you all unawares. I think that's a human problem.
Dean, how should a CEO divide her time as she looks ahead, or his?
So, I can only give you my a point of view, right? This is not based on any kind of extensive analysis. So obviously, CEOs, they're always pressed for time, and the worldview in general that they're forming is episodic, because the demands on their time, the fragmentation that they have, the ability for them to sit down and for them to think a lot. The ability is there, but the time is simply not there. So I would say that, obviously, really good CEOs and both Sunil and Shobna have said this, they surround themselves with very good people, right? And it's not just very good people, it's people who have a very diverse set of opinions, so that while, of course, this particular one has come as a shock to a lot of people, no one can say with any degree of confidence that 3 months ago they would have predicted that this is going to happen, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. A lot of the other things is what, a friend and a very close friend and an excellent person called Max Bezeman, he calls them predictable surprises. So all the time you need, so these are predictable. And as long as you have a system in place to understand what this is, then it becomes, it's something that you know.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to put numbers, hang on. I'm going to put numbers, specific numbers to the way I do this.
Yeah.
So if I look at an annual plan, 10% of my mind at that time is looking at existential threats. If I look at a 3 to 5 year plan, it's 40%. We also do 25-year plans, by the way. Then it's 60 to 80% in those plans. Because those are not real budgets. Those are perspective plans. That's when we seriously think about this stuff. So 3 to 5 years is a really serious issue. Long term, you cannot ignore those
You're
things.
saying at this point, Hero's already thinking about 2045 or 2050?
We do those kind of stuff as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the lady had a question.
Which are becoming harder and harder. We can become, I didn't answer one technical question.
Yeah.
So,
transition.
yeah. So there is, as you know, Segway has already created the technology. The technology is not new. Through gyros, you can creep anything upright. That's how rockets were sent on up in space. That was an old technology being brought into a more basic products. So it has been tried in a few places, but nowhere is it yet commercial or commercially viable right now.
Okay. One
my
more
question to you,
and
sir,
I'm
Mr.
also
Sunil,
going to
sir.
ask Dr. Ella one question, so do be prepared so that. Yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
one more question got left.
Yeah.
She asked a very
Yeah,
important
on the
question on
yeah,
succession.
transition.
We'll take those together then. Sorry.
Go ahead.
We'll take it after. Yeah.
Sir, you said your core values of your business is experimentation that leads to innovation. But coming to your Splendor model, when Honda wants to introduce a new model, you still insisted on continuing with Splendor, which is still in the market for past 25 years, and it's a hot seller for you. Do you think Honda had made a mistake by asking you to discontinue with Splendor?
So, good question actually. So the Splendor of today is not the Splendor of 25 years ago. I'll just tell you that. It's a completely different, completely new vehicle. The brand continues, but it's constantly changed inside. The machine inside is constantly improved and modified.
Okay. Can we get a microphone here? Yes, ma'am. You've not answered her question.
Yes. So, your question actually, I think I answered a little bit earlier, that it is important to ensure first that your next generation demonstrate an interest in business before you force them. Because forcing somebody against their will and their wishes is the worst way to get somebody to work or to be interested. Because if they're not really interested, they're not going to do a good job, and they may actually end up hurting the business or themselves. So one is to demonstrate there is interesting things happening in the company and the business, if not today, but it has the potential to be. And that's why I think I was saying earlier, it's important to understand the next generation's views, interest, and personal passions. And you can also guide them. You can nudge them in the direction by showing them things, by creating exposure of the kind of things you think are useful in the future.
Okay, so let me put that same question to Dr. Ella. So I thought I'll combine two things. I think one is philosophical underpinnings, and the second is scientific underpinnings. I mean, we have a big challenge. The virus hasn't left us. You still have to keep finding solutions or variations of the vaccine which will obviously keep us safe. How do you manage that? I mean,
I think first we should all say a big thank you to him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think, I'm amazed to see the three generations of entrepreneurship there. I'm scared actually how my grandson is going to be coping up with the business continuity. I'm really scared actually, honestly. And when we have a scientific business like us, it's driven by scientific passion more than the business. And in the vaccine business, it's driven by public health. The cost is important, innovation is important, speed is important business, except Pfizer and all can make it in the US, but not in India. So it's just challenging. So whether my next generation is going to take forward this sort of vision is going to be challenging. And I think if my son and grandson is going to be like Pfizer, that is a scary part for scientifically and a company point of view. But I think that's a scary part. And how do you manage? I think we believe in one thing. We want India to be innovative. It's very clear. And I think if the time has come, India has to change. And we should not ask the government what they should do to us, but every one of us can do small thing and do changes, can change and fight it. And India is a risky country, as you started in the beginning itself, very difficult entrepreneurship journey in the country. And I think we have to keep fighting. There's nothing, keep looking at positively, not negatively. And instead of hitting at each other, rather talk positively and move on. But I think India is a great country. I think it's going to, next 5 years, I think it's going to be digitalized India. I mean, the way Visa and MasterCard may not exist at all in 5 years. I don't know, business professors should tell me that, not me. But 5 years, Visa and Master may not be there at all. So the whole disruption is going to happen in the digital world also. Look at COVID program. I mean, India is the only country where we have 1 billion population of data of people in the US. They write in Walgreens letterhead, they are taking 2 doses Moderna vaccine. That's how they're given literate.
Yes.
But whereas India has
Physical
got
card.
totally captured the data. It's amazing. I think the country has changed quite a bit, and I think the generations have created, and I think I'm scared actually. I came only for Guru asked me to come, but at the same time, I'm seeing how my grandson is going to take forward the game. Thank you.
So I'm
Thank you very
actually
much.
I'm going to respond to that point you
Yeah,
raised.
go ahead.
I think we should try and stop controlling the future life of our children and our grandchildren, because they will be living their truth. What we live is our truth. It was completely different from our parents and grandparents. If they saw what we are doing today, they may be thrilled or they may be absolutely aghast. But in today's time, what we're doing is fine. So you look at regulation. What companies were doing 25 years ago as a normal kind of governance, half of them would be behind bars today. Okay? So we have to allow the future to play itself out, and I think it's very important, because we have to try and avoid vicariously living our lives through our children, because our children are much better exposed than we were at that age, and they have much more opportunity than ever, especially in a country like India, exactly like you're saying. And I think this is fantastic, and I think it can only get better. I think we are just starting on this runway.
Okay, last one or two questions, and then we have to close. Yeah.
One question for it is.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll come to you next.
Over the years, I'm curious whether the cost per consulting has come down, where the rubber meets the road, where the doctor meets the patient, whether the cost per consulting, whether you could bring it down over the years.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Sunil, I am Murli from Vedwak Systems Company. Very happy to see you in Hyderabad. Thanks to ISB and HMA. My request is, the caption was, fill it, shut it, forget it. Now, what is the new caption you're coming with the electric vehicles?
Good one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Last question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, last question. On the lines of the promotion, we think of hero, we think of iconic campaign, Hum Hai Hero. Probably in the COVID and pre-normal, we haven't seen that kind of a campaign from Hero Motors.
Okay. So as we close, I think, yeah.
First one, have you brought the cost of consulting down?
Over time, yeah.
Can I answer yours? Because
And then you can answer hers.
yeah, you answer mine, because it's about disruption. So my son-in-law is the brand ambassador now for this Mango Fruity. So my daughter went, and the youngest Chauhan girl was there. And Upasana turned around and said, why is he not saying mango, fruity, fresh and juicy? And she looked at her and said, your generation knows this. What we want is the young generation, which is why I've hired a completely different set of advertising people to take this brand to the new generation. So I think that whatever they do will be super fresh with that. Now you answer my questions.
No, but you're right. It has to be their language, their medium, and their tonality for people to fully absorb this. Because one of the things that we've attempted, if you see our messaging, not just today, by the way, right through, the communication and the messaging is about people. Because eventually, please remember, all of it is about people.
Okay. So,
Technology.
how will Hero Motor bring down the cost of patient consulting? Is the question.
Yeah, I'm sure he's in healthcare also.
So absolutely, the cost has gone down because you're now doing much more in the time that you used to earlier. The part of the prep work is now got automated, a large part of it. Record keeping, which is an important part of any consulting, is gone completely digital. So there are many tools available to us. Other than just the desire to improve and grow, we now have a lot more technology and tools available which are being deployed. And again, like the other stuff, I think this is only just starting. Shobhana is, of course, an expert at this. But if you think about why Mayo Clinic is called the #1 healthcare system in the world, I think the big distinction is you can go and ask for your dad or your mom's record that they went there 50 years ago. It's still available now in full detail. Of course, they won't share it with you because they can't, because of regulations.
I'm going to add, because my dad is a doctor, so I'm very passionate about that part, is that Sunil opened up by saying that the only appreciating asset is talent with that. So I think that while we can do everything around it, like he said, we have better processes. He was pushing us to make sure our hospital inventory, he was aghast when I said it's 15 days, he said it should be 3 days. So we can do so much around that now with technology, but we should never not recognize the talent of that doctor and what he's put in for his education. So I do think they should always be paid fair, because that's a professional, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a, any one of these, when you value a professional service. And I think this is something that Dad has been passionate about when the insurance companies tried to cap their fees. He said, this is a professional, you must treat him with that. You pay pilots exorbitantly. Why would you think that doctors are out to scam you with this? And I think that value of an appreciating asset. But having said that, let me tell you, the cost of an open heart surgery at Apollo has been the same for the last, this is for one class of people using inflation, it's been the same for the last 20, 30 years. Yeah,
it's actually gone down.
It's gone down, and this is technology. So the two answers to your question.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we've run out of time completely. And thank you for taking the audience and all of us through a wonderful journey, and I do wish all of you all the best. And let me also now invite, without any further conclusions, Kavita Rajesh.
Yeah, thank you,
Oh,
sir.
she's right
It was
here
a
already.
great
Okay.
evening, and I'm well articulated, and I'm sure it was a great learning for young generation and entrepreneurs like us from your experiences. A very good evening to one and all. Once a great man whispered, feeling thankless and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. On behalf of Hyderabad Management Association and Indian School of Business, I express my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal, Chairman Hero Enterprises, Member and Executive Board, ISB, and past President IMA, for his inspirational book, The Making of Hero. I'm sure each one of us can relate to the different facets which is well articulated in his book. Thank you, sir. I wish to thank all the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais for their presence, as I deem it an honor and privilege to deliver this vote of thanks. And I would like to thank all the representatives of different organizations, corporate, individuals, institutions, like Mr. Krishna Ella and Mr. Ajit, sir, who has been here, and the Dean of ISB, and it is our privilege to propose this vote of thanks and have the blessings with their presence. I would like to thank the organizing team at ERO, ISB, HMA for ensuring it went well without any glitches. I thank the Dean ISB, Mr. Madan Puletla, for the venue and hospitality, and Mr. Govindaraj Ethiraj, founder, Indian Pen Bloom Live, and Mrs. Shobha Kamineni Garu, Vice Chairperson, Apollo Hospital, for her presence. And before I close, I would like all of you to kindly purchase and read the book written by Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal, since he brought in a nutshell the making of hero, and we can learn the lesson from this book. Sir, I would also like to say I'm part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Global Women Program from ISB, alum of ISB here. Thank you, sir, and it is a great honor for us to collaborate with IMA to do this event. It's been a while that we all met physically, and thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Mr. Munjal. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, Geeta, I hand over it to Geeta.
Very good evening. It's my honor, on behalf of HMA as well as ISB, to felicitate the people on the dais. And I would like to ask our President, Ms. Kavita Rajesh, to do the honors.
By the way, every single event, as you know.
Mr. Munjal.